How many weeks you got some more?
About 3 or 4. Yeah.
Well, I got all that together. I just haven't really. But one partial one, golf starts off, one part
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending. If you please stand and say the pledge to the flag and remain standing for the prayer. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of city business. Guide our hearts, our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being one source and our source of guidance today. Amen. I'd like to call this meeting to order on October 2nd at 6:34 p.m. Can I have roll call, please?
Alderman Tonawanda. Here. Pecoraro.
Here.
Berube is absent. Braun.
Here.
Zadzilka.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Erica G. Pappas and City Attorney Luke Brown is absent.
All right. Mayor, did you have any opening comments?
Nothing at this time, Mr. President.
All right. Seeing that you do not have those, can we have anybody who's wishing to speak on tonight's agenda and tonight's agenda only, please step forward and state your name and address into the microphone.
Hello, Edward A. Smolinski, 1097 Skinny Street, North Tonawanda. Let me give you these real quick. I just made some copies of what I want to talk about. You just pass them out front here. There are a couple more copies here, if anybody would like one. Real quick, what I talk about today is what's on the agenda is the Division Street, putting stop signs on Division Street. And I served on the Traffic Safety Committee for like 7 years. This issue, Twin City Memorial Highway, it's a mess. Division Street, the off-ramps, Dale Marshall, it's been his pet peeve. I agree with him. I wish we had unlimited money, rip it out. His idea, put a nice little road in there like the boulevard, get rid of the, we don't have that money, we can't do it. We got an issue with the off-ramps. And this has been brought forward to the Traffic Safety Committee. I'm no longer on it, but I was for like 7 years. Several times of the merging on Division Street of people coming off of the Twin City Memorial Highway. Engineers screwed up when they built it. You got a 50-foot off ramp, you're traveling from 45 down to 30, trying to merge in with traffic. They change the yield signs, they put yield signs on the ground, they put yellow signs with red lettering saying, look at the yield signs, they delayed the lights, nothing seems to be working. When I was on the Traffic Safety Committee, I brought this forward. If you ever, first snowfall, I was a police officer for 30 years, drove down Division a million times. It's kind of neat when the snow first falls, you got a pristine pavement, you can watch the traffic pattern, how people come off the road. Everybody comes off Twin City Memorial Highway, goes directly to the right-hand lane on Division Street. Cuts right across the left, right to the right-hand lane. They don't stay in the left. The left lane is like useless. It's not being used. Nobody travels down. Everybody comes off, they make 40 miles an hour, they make it a hard turn on the Orchard, a hard turn on the Rumble, cutting the cost of traffic, cutting people off. It is something that needs to be looked at. However, Dale brought this to us on the committee several times. And as a group, the 6, 7, 8 of us, however many people were on at the time, looked at it very closely. One time we brought in the state, an engineer from the state, he talked to us about it. And we every time voted against putting stop signs on Division Street. It's not going to work. What you need is a way, what I propose in this, I mean, this is just one idea. Maybe, there's others out there, is block off that left lane, just use some paint, make merge lanes. You know how you get on the throughway, you got to get up to speed or get down to speed, they got merge lanes or 50, or 100, 500 feet long. Division Street has no merge lanes. To use that left lane, make it a merge lane, allow traffic to come off, go straight in the left lane for 100 feet and then merge to the right, you could probably even get rid of the yield signs and just let the one center traffic to Division Street. I wouldn't say do that, but it would definitely flow better. It has no merge lanes. The off-ramp at Robinson Street we talked about, that should just be moved. It should be moved back to like East Thompson or something like that. I know the state doesn't want to do it, but same thing, money thing. I think the city could do it if they had permission from the state. But what I'm saying is, for years we talked about this. Dale brought it up one more time. He went directly to you guys this time instead of going to traffic safety as he circumvented it. I'm asking that you take a better look. Talk to the people on the traffic safety committee. There's whoever's on there still now, 6, 7 of them. Talk to the police chief. There's never any accidents. I worked 30 years. I've never seen an accident at an off-ramp on Division. I seen one last week at Robinson at the intersection. Guy got killed a couple months ago at Shank Street. But there's never any accidents at the off-ramps. We don't need stop signs there. It's gonna stop traffic on Division, allow people coming out Twin City Memorial Highway. Now they got free reign. They can do 40, 50 miles an hour right off the Division, right off TCMH, right on Division, because people are stopped now for them. People coming out of the highway, they park in front of Rite Aid, they're walking their cars. There's gonna be a stop sign there, but these cars are still gonna be flying off and going directly across into that right lane and getting close to these people. You need merge lanes. You need to do something different. Bring in another company, a private company that maybe can come up with some ideas, bring the state back, do something. Stop signs aren't gonna work, it's just a Band-Aid. It's gonna cause rear-end collisions, it's gonna cause more people looking back. People come out Twin City Memorial Highway, they're always stopping when they don't have to. They're gonna look at people are stopped here, people are stopped here. It's just gonna be a mess. Please reconsider or consider, at least table it, talk to other people. Get some other ideas. Don't put stop signs on Division.
Did you revisit this, Ed, with the traffic safety as far as the stop sign proposal being brought up once again?
I have not, because I did talk to people on traffic safety. I'm not going to mention names, but they said that this time around they weren't included. In fact, they're going to write a letter saying that they're upset with the fact that this was brought up again and they weren't asked about it. It was just brought directly to you guys. And they're not here to speak, and I can't speak for them, but I know they're not happy about it.
All right, and I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ed, I don't think it's a bad idea what you have here, at least. And I know, Dale, that we saw one option, right? One option. And did you ever send us that PDF or anything to put on the agenda? It's on the website. I
did what you asked me to
do. I didn't ask anything.
Just so you know, Joe Sikora is in favor of this stop sign. He told us today.
So
That's not what he told me last week when I was talking.
He told me today, and Dale, he told me right to Dale that he is in favor of this particular stop sign.
I was at a party Saturday afternoon, and he told me he's kind of mad that he was bypassed and he was okay.
So
He was fine with this.
I think if you could, we'll give maybe Dale a few moments at the microphone just to state.
Sure, I'll listen to it again.
Just to state what your,
You want me up there now?
yeah, I mean,
You
just so,
want me to touch all my topics too when I'm up there?
it's up to you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Why not?
Thanks.
And then maybe this can shed some light on it for us.
Okay.
Thank you, Dale, I know it's.
Ed is right. I did meet on several occasions with traffic and safety. They're an advisory committee made up mostly of DPW, police and fire. I've had several meetings with the state DOT, and I've been the city engineer for 28 years, and I've been doing engineering for nearly 4 years. So I like to think that I'm an expert when it comes to engineering in North Tonawanda. This is an engineering solution to the problem, and I think everybody in this room probably has a horror story about people not yielding to them on Division Street. One of the problems is the fact that they built that highway and kept Division Street in its geometry because it was a two-way street before there was a highway there, right? It led you to Nash Road. The problem is that Division Street is 35 feet curb to curb. Conceivably, there's 3 lanes there. It's wide. It allows the drag racing. It allows the speeding. It's got yields that people don't yield to. So the solution I came up with was we did meet with the DOT. I wrote the regional director back in December. He had his engineers meet with me downtown along with Brad Rolls at the time, the superintendent of public works, because they had just spent $2.5 million redoing all the signals on Twin Cities Memorial Highway. It's 5,000 feet. There's 5 intersections, and it really doesn't work any well because of the confusion. So what we asked them was that their traffic control system controls Division Street, which is a local street. So we had a state DOT controlling our signals on Division Street. So what we simply asked them to do is build in a 20-second delay to stop the drag racing. So in other words, when you're on let's say you're going northbound on Twin Cities and your destination is Erie Avenue, you should be getting off at that final ramp. There's no reason for you to be on Division Street driving the whole length if your destination is Erie Avenue. But what we find is people short-circuiting, getting off at Orchard, driving the whole length of Division Street at 50 miles an hour, or getting off at Rumboldt Street where Hideaway is, and then going up to Robinson, and because the lights were timed together, it was a drag race, and those people knew not to yield to you, so they drag race you to that opening. People are reluctant, they'll come to a complete stop on that off-ramp because they're afraid they're gonna get hit. There's no stop sign, there's nothing to tell them to stop that car, but they will bring that car to a complete stop with no stop sign, putting the people behind them at risk of getting rear-ended on a 45-mile-an-hour highway because they stopped, because there's no room for the storage of other cars beyond the one car in the throat area of the off-ramp. So what we simply did is we asked the DOT to build in a delay. So in other words, Division Street is now delayed, Robinson is not only delayed, but also Schenck, Robinson, Tremont, and Christiana all have the same delay built in. So in other words, Twin Cities gets to go, they can clear about 5 cars, but what we're finding, and I showed you the video last week, you saw it. Once the delay is over with, the cars that are remaining on Division Street are still drag racing, and you can hear you heard on the video, the motors gunning, and they're catching the highway guys that are on 45 getting off and not yielding to them. The other day I saw a school bus not yield to somebody coming off the highway, a school bus. And they're pretty long, and he was on the outside lane, so the guy had to lock up. I saw it on the way in today, too. So I appreciate the advice, but what Ed described is exactly what you have at Orchard. There's a stop sign at Orchard where somebody got hurt coming off over the bridge into North Tonawanda, got off at Orchard and got T-boned there. There is a stop sign there. That's exactly what we want to do. So the proposal before you is to take that 35 feet, right, and eliminate the 3 lanes, go down to 2, 1 northbound lane and 1 right only. So at Robinson, if you're in the right lane, you're making a right, and you're not having to go around cars that are going straight. You have that lane to yourself. There should be no volume on that road if your destination is Erie Avenue. So the other lane will now have to go up to a stop sign at, I'm using the Robinson interchange. We'll have to go up to Avalon and stop. So here's the deal. People are conditioned to either stop their car or drag race on Twin Cities because they know they're not going to get yield to. So Ed's right. They're hitting Division Street at 45, 50 miles an hour at Mighty Taco, where they should be slowing down and doing 30, knowing they're not going to yield. The people on Division Street who are cheating, who are using that as a short circuit, knowing their destination is Erie, are also drag racing, and so they're going much more than 30 miles an hour to not yield to that person. So you got 2 guys going at 45 miles an hour. If we knock that down to 1 lane, we're trying to, in an engineering way, encourage the public to stay on the highway until your destination and get off only where you need to. So now, that guy who's drag racing on Division Street can't race because the yield sign means nothing to them. A stop sign with the word stop and a stop bar in the pavement, and we're looking at doing a solar LED stop sign that blinks, stop. If you don't stop for that, you can't drag race to that stop sign. You're going to have to get on your gas and slow immediately down because you have a stop sign.
Because
I think
the yield designation isn't helping us, hasn't helped us.
Well, a yield is a stop sign, right? It means
Right.
stop
Well,
your
we know
car
in
and stop
theory.
it for a half hour if you have to.
In
It's
theory.
like a stop sign that lasts for as long as the traffic's there. But the way the public treats a yield is,
They haven't
they don't even treat it like a stop sign. They treat it like, I don't even have to do anything to yield, right? And so a stop sign really tells people what to do there. I agree there's some enforcement there, but we're asking for 2 stop signs, the one on Division Street. I'm going to tell you, it will encourage the public to stay on the highway because it won't be worth cheating anymore and not yielding to people because they're already delayed and now they got to bring their car to a full stop. So they're going to say, why am I doing it? Why am I? Because it's the same people every day. They're our neighbors, are the people. I do it as I go home that way. So I think it'll encourage the public to stay on the road until your destination, which is Erie, and remove that volume off of there.
Right.
And I'm confident it will work. I mean, this is my last solution. The only thing I can say is that also had it right. The driveway is an engineering mistake, or the highway is an engineering mistake, but we don't have $20 million to blow it up.
Right.
It's on our docket to get rid of it and to put the boulevard back where Division Street is and create a nice linear parkway there. But that's $20 million in years down the road. So that needs to go away someday because it is a mistake. that highway was a mistake. And I'm trying to fix it, and it's my one chance to get it right, after all these years.
Right,
So
and this-
I'm
and this-
asking you for those two
And
stop
this
signs.
solution that you have with the stop sign is very inexpensive. It's not gonna cost us a lot of money,
It's,
so
And
if
we
we
have
see
to,
that it is a problem.
correct, and we
we
have to
have to
reline
spend
the
that
road
much money.
anyway, because the gas company's out of there,
You
and
have to do it anyway.
we're not using a ton of paint, but we're gonna delineate where the new lanes are with paint. With the thought that is if this works, we're then gonna remove that paint and expand those islands and put that curb in there until that highway gets blown up. So, I'm confident it'll work, and especially at the hideaway on Rumble, you legally can come off the highway and turn your car 90 degrees to the traffic that's not yielding on Division Street if your destination is Rumble or the highway. Who in their right mind would take their car and turn it 90 degrees to somebody doing 45 miles an hour knowing they're not going to yield? So they don't, right? So that guy stops there also. We want to put a stop sign there and neck down those lanes so the people who are going straight come to a complete stop, at least give that guy a chance.
And I'd ask the question for the people in the audience today, how many people have ever had a near miss on Division Street where they were coming off the Twin City highways and the people didn't yield to them? I mean, it happens all the time, so something has to be done. So I appreciate that, because it's to me ridiculous, and I'm a very safe driver, and that person won't stop. And you end up having to stop because they won't yield.
Yeah, you can't expect the person to follow that yield, and that's scary because you don't know how to proceed through that merge.
Yeah, it's just, and the other thing is so wide, and you got yields on both sides, and you got 2 lanes drag racing, and the guy in the outboard lane is also trying to get the area, so he's trying to get ahead of the next guy.
Yeah.
So we're eliminating that whole lane. He's right. Ed was right. Get rid of that lane. We're doing it with delineation and with pavement markings now, but I think we ought to expand those islands and really squish that road down to 1 lane like we talked about. So
Dale, the one question that I have is, maybe it's 2. The stop sign, I think I brought up to Chelsea, was the example of Scajaquada
Yeah.
and Elmwood.
beautiful
And when you're
example.
turning your head back and, it's unbelievably uncomfortable
It
to
is.
see if anyone's coming your way and the people on Scajaquada still go 60 or they go 30, whatever. I mean, people are still gonna be going 45 or 60,
Right.
whatever they do here. But, my question is, so if someone's driving a Geo Prism and they're at that stop sign, and you got a Corvette coming up from Twin City, and that Geo Prism, is puffing his chest and thinks he can outbeat him, and then you got
He's going to be at
Corvette.
the stop sign though, right?
Right,
So-
but maybe he thinks he can make it. Instead of just, continuing traffic and.
Well, you know what, it
mixing
stops him,
movement.
it forces him to stop and look. And, when it's too, as wide as it is with those 2 yields, if you're a good guy, and you're gonna pay attention to those signs, and I'm gonna yield to those people coming off the highway, right? So you're gonna try to yield to that guy. The angles are so difficult and acute, even if you're a good guy and wanna yield, you almost have to stop your car and turn on an angle, or trust your mirrors that car that's coming off the highway is there. So even if you're trying to do it right, it's impossible. So what we're saying is separate the 2, have the 1 lane exit the highway and stop that guy so he can at least stop and look, and then if there's a gap there, hit it, go.
Right, so
That's the idea.
I understand, I've worked on traffic plans like this before, and I think it's there, but like I said, we didn't see a couple options. My question is then, is there some kind of hybrid between Ed's and yours? And
We
the
looked
only
at
reason
everything.
so you're saying separate them, right? And instead of looking back and so on, I think it's good to
Stop
have 1
them.
lane.
Stop them.
1 lane isn't a bad idea, and you're taking out, and this is hard for everyone because we don't have an image of, so anyways,
I can run up again.
but to, the flow, but then separating both those lanes, you merge 1, you still can go on that right lane, remove
But you
the
have to
left lane,
stop, and then you have to basically let
but
that.
maybe you don't stop, and maybe you just
Stopping,
control
stop.
where
It's a
they can
little
actually
different.
merge
Yeah, well, you
together,
know what?
right?
We're gonna have signboards up, and we're gonna ask the police to enforce the,
Yeah.
rules.
I'm just nervous people are gonna get,
I don't know,
hit from behind.
everybody's got this example too, and I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus, but when you're in Twin Cities, it's 45 miles an hour, right? It's 45. Has anybody seen somebody on Division going 50 and passing them
Yep.
on a 30? Everybody's seen it, right?
Yep.
And why does that guy get off at Orchard if his destination is Erie and travel the entire 5,000 feet, not yielding to anybody, if his destination is Walmart or Erie? You see it every day. And so those now what you're noticing with that 15 second, we asked for 20, they only gave us 15, but what you'll notice today
is that queue or that line of cars now has moved over to the highway, but there's still the guys that remain there, knowing that they're gonna get that delay and still get 40 seconds on the green and still do the drag race. We're saying, okay, now we're stopping you, because there's no way we can get the extra time out of that green, because you gotta rob that green time from another direction, right? So that's what the state limited us to 15 seconds. It's good to clear about 5 cars, but then the drag, just like I showed you in that video, that drag race is on. This is an engineering solution to the problem that will work. Okay?
And that drag race is them trying to beat us to the merge.
Exactly. Because they don't know what a yield sign is, or they don't pay attention to it. At least a stop sign blinking in one lane.
Right.
There's not 2 lanes drag racing, there's one. Because remember, that outboard guy's trying to get ahead of the other guy who's on Division 3 with him.
Right.
Because nobody's going straight there, they're all going right on here. So it's to eliminate the drag racing and remove the volume that remains there. Because it has started to move over with the delays. They're saying it's not worth cheating anymore because I'm delayed. Hey, I still got 40 seconds on green, I can still stay here and get the delay and still beat those people. Just move around the highway you belong and get off of that off ramp at Mighty Taco, that's what we're saying.
So Dale, why did we change the process in which we approved this then?
Well,
Why didn't we?
you
go
have
to-
traffic and safety, right? They're here, like I said, they're your DPW, right? They're Mark Dagler, they're your police chief or your fire chief, they're guys like that, right? And they're advisory, right? They're ad hoc, hey, we don't need a stop sign on Ardmore in Ohio anymore. They're that, or let's look at taking a light to flash or something like that. This is an engineering solution, and I'm your engineer, and I'm recommending it. I've met with them, like Ed said, on several occasions. I've met with the DOT on several occasions. It's taken me, my whole career here, to get to the point where I think I can solve it without spending the $20 million. And I would, I'm hoping that you're willing to give it a go, because you gotta trust me that it'll work, right? I don't think there's any passing the buck anymore that any more committees are looking at it. So,
Thank you, Dale.
that's good.
And Dale, it isn't online, I guess.
It's not online?
Not yet. It's on my
So,
to-do list.
Okay.
well, to do and
Right.
what does it matter if we pass something,
Well, because here's the thing, time is of
We're
the essence.
time-
Well,
it's
how
a
do we
Time is of the
make it
essence
comment?
because,
right?
look at the weather. We have to, because the gas company's done messing around with Division Street,
Right.
we've got to put the lines back in, right? So we want to stripe it based on putting those stop signs in and eliminating those lanes across.
Yeah, let's make it safer now and not wait till later.
Agreed, yeah, because there's some good weather ahead, Mark, I don't know what you're, Mark, you're here, when were you looking at doing it?
He wanted to do it yesterday.
He wanted you to vote last week.
If I can just, you'll hear my voice, if I can just say one thing. Everything that we're going to do can be adjusted. It's not like it's a permanent thing.
And it's inexpensive, so it's not gonna cost us a lot of money if you have to adjust.
No, you have
And
to
I will
paint it
say
anyway.
this, because I'm a member of the Traffic Safety Committee, I did not agree with Dale's assessment of putting a stop sign in all of the yield signs. And I was out there and I studied quite a bit myself. They don't pay attention to the yield signs, but this is one where I'm at least in favor of giving it a try.
Right.
Nothing's set in stone, but then again, if we find out that it works, go with his idea, put the curbs in, then they don't have a choice.
Mhm.
I mean, we're gonna be into the snow soon. You know, how much is it gonna work? We don't know until we try it.
Right.
That's why I already have the stop signs, I had them delivered yesterday. They're the new LED type, I found 2 for the price of 1 from a company that was a surplus company. They were brand new in February, we got 2 for the price of 1, we got a good deal. They literally flash, we charged them up, they're solar panels, you never have to worry about them. And they're fairly inexpensive, it's not any major, it goes on the same type of post that we're using. If it doesn't work, we could take them down and use them elsewhere.
So I think you
What I'm
guys,
trying to do
in a
is
way,
go
you're
look at-
cooperating and we're gonna try this. And you're gonna be watching and monitoring it, and so is Dale. And if we have to make adjustments, we
can.
will, but at the same time, we need some sort of a solution, put forward, and this is the best we can. Mark, did you wanna say something?
Yeah, I'd like to, we're here to, approve the 2 stop signs. That doesn't mean we can't change the painting around a little bit to put Ed's idea into it also as a, when you're coming off by Mighty Taco, leaving that lane open for a little bit to keep the traffic there, then yield over.
Where?
So you don't have to turn back to look at the cars.
Right.
What's coming off.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference is that I think maybe we find out, like you were saying, Mark and Mark, I love that. maybe it becomes a yield instead of a stop sign. Maybe it's just those tiny little reflector bollards until, you know, it becomes a separate, or it separates the two lanes. I don't, but we'll go, I guess, sounds like we'll go with it for now and take your recommendation and then.
I've even looked into having, either renting or having one of the contractors come in and do the chopping actually of the road, the rumble strips.
Oh.
Where we could act, I mean, if this obviously I'm out of time, but if this works and we don't have money, cause if we're always looking for money to do things,
Right.
can go with a rumble strip idea and then put the curbs in or something like that. There's all kinds of ideas, but at least we're trying to compromise.
Yeah.
Progress.
I'm not in full agreement of everything, but we can put it out there, try it,
Right,
get the public's opinion, watch the accident, monitor the accidents and go from there.
right. And again, I would like to reiterate that if we come up with stuff like this that really affects everyone, I would like to see it online or something. You know, I know for a fact, we have a lot of traffic engineers in North Tonawanda, and you never know if they just check the agenda for these items. So, I'll continue to reiterate the fact that, like, let people see this sort of thing. There has to do with something in their backyard, something on their streets that they drive, so.
And that's why I'm glad you brought some of this up at the workshop and you showed us a comparative video. That was impactful, I think.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Do you want to talk about any of my other,
Did you wanna talk about the other?
Yeah, I have 3 items on tonight, so the first one is, which one is it? Pedestrian Safety Action Plan. As you know, the city received $375,000 to make safer pedestrian intersections downtown. And I gotta thank Mark and Chelsea for putting that 100%. They did that application. It's 100% reimbursable. There's no money out of our pockets. We sent out requests for proposals to 16 companies. We had a steering committee that reviewed those proposals. We looked at 8 responded. We had 4 really good, we shortlisted to 4 and interviewed the top 4 firms. The number 1 firm on everybody's scoring was CNS during that phase, and after the interview, CNS did nothing to not remain at number 1. They answered all our questions correctly. They had the experience with the PSAP program, and they actually had some insight on how to save us some money to stretch those dollars, because they know we want to bring it in on the budget and do more with that.
I was on that committee, and I really liked the experience of CNS and what they brought to the table with that experience and the stretching of dollars, which you're gonna hear later on, is a big deal to all of us.
Yes, so the recommendation tonight is to award the engineering part of the contract that is 100% fundable.
Dale, do you have any idea when they will reimburse that? Like, is it next year?
Well,
Does it take a while?
typically it's a turnkey operation. Like when we did things like Meadow Drive Extension, work with those were federal dollars where the state implemented those funds, but we ran the project as the city. As you incur costs, you put them in and get reimbursed. So
they're
you're
pretty
not
quick.
out, like
That big chunk.
Meadow Drive, we weren't out $2 million.
Right.
You know, every time we
Gradual.
made a payment, we put in a request.
Okay.
I think it'll work like that.
So they're pretty quick then?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
So, and the other thing I have on tonight is, Bob, you might have been on that committee
I
too,
was.
but- Well, as you know, we got $1.5 million
Right.
to rehab Gateway Harbor, which is to improve it after 20 years of service and make it better. But the other part is to extend that dock system that ends at the dockside and extend it all the way to Gateway Harbor to have one continuous docking system under the bridge. So we opened bids a couple weeks ago, and the low bidder was right in our estimate, and it was Pinto / Darling, who, if you're familiar with those 2 names, they did our marina for us, 5 of the 6 phases. So we're happy to have them on board again, and so we're recommending award of Pinto at their base bid. We're holding off on an ad alternate for that handicap accessibility because we have to open bids next week on the gateway improvements, and we're counting our money. So the recommendation is to hire Pinto also.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dale.
Anybody else wishing to speak on tonight's agenda and tonight's agenda only?
Hello.
Tom Gallis, 174 Belmont Court East. I'd just like to throw my 2 cents in about the division Twin City Memorial stop sign thing. I get off the Twin Cities quite often and go down Orchard. And I can think of 2 occasions offhand where the people aren't honoring that sign. And Mr. Zelinski mentioned about there's not an accident, there hasn't been an accident there. Well, only because of the grace of God. Because there's a couple of times when I should have been hit, but I ended up stopping, coming off the Twin Cities, because the person on Division would not stop. So I was not allowed to go down to Orchard. I talked to Mr. Sikora a number of times. Last time I came to speak before the council, and I was 0 for 2, maybe I can do better today. But I talked about this traffic signal by OLC Church. And everything I hear is, you're the only one who complained, and I don't really want to get into that, but I just want to make a point where he said there hasn't been an accident. And just because there hasn't been an accident doesn't mean there will be one. But that seems to weigh heavy on the mindset of the traffic committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Gals, can I address that? I remember you coming, you mentioned that to me, and the traffic, I understand traffic committee did study that, but we also contacted the church. And we were told by the church that they did not feel that it was necessary during the week either. They just felt it was necessary for the Saturday and Sunday masses and so on. But they, the spokesman for the church said that they did not see the need either for that light to be working 7 days a week. So that's why I believe nothing more was done with it.
I can move on from that, but my wife goes there quite often.
Sure.
And she tells me what goes on sometimes.
No, I understand what you're saying.
And again, I'm not putting it on you, I'll put it on the church, because again, I'm only a member, all right? I'm not speaking for them, I never spoke for them. Maybe they should take a better look at and maybe take it a little bit.
Your concerns are well stated, because I've said to myself, to members of the traffic committee, that I'm not one that likes to wait for it to happen, and then after something bad happens, then you look at it. And I think they all understand that too, but just so you know, it was followed up upon, and we did speak to someone from the church, and they claimed that, a spokesman for the church claimed at the time that they didn't see the need either, but that's why nothing was done.
Mr. Sikora called me and he gave me more than ample time and everything. He was very courteous and very generous with his time. And maybe I'm not satisfied, but I'm satisfied with the process.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gales.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on anything on tonight's city agenda, please step forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Steve Brown, this is my wife Linda Brown, we live at 758 Daigler Drive, North Tonawanda. We own 775 Oliver Street. We're opening up a sports bar and tavern. And from the workshop, we're here seeking approval, putting out the, be able to serve, put the patio out front and be able to serve drink service and food out on our patio in the front, 775 Oliver.
Okay.
We have to go through the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's on the agenda tonight.
Oh, okay.
We have to go through the whole.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had to step up and say.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, and we've been advised of some things that I don't know if Kaz Capozzi's reached out to you or not.
Yeah, I met with him today at our establishment.
And is he satisfied with everything that he needs for this process?
Yes, I have to meet with him again Thursday morning. His concern he had, because we're tiling the bathroom walls.
Right.
In order to tile the walls, I have to remove the toilets and the stalls out of the way in order to do that. So he said, by me doing that, something in regards to, I have to make it ADA compliant. I said, well, how am I gonna tile the walls with everything in the way? I mean, if I came to your house to do a tile job, I'm gonna remove it and we're putting it right back in. We're not changing, I didn't move any plumbing, I didn't move any walls, there's no walls to move. They're black walls. We're putting tile on them, and we're putting everything back exactly the way it was. So he was going to look, and I gotta meet with him Thursday morning, just to confirm everything, but other than that, he said something about the barriers that we would have to put up front.
Is there anything that Canal Club or some of the similar patio type of add-ons, such as yourself, what you're proposing, is there anything that they've done in the process that you need to do as well as part of this?
He had mentioned that they were supposed to, she got the planners, apparently the city, Elmer Street probably had bought those, but they weigh enough, they met the DOT requirement for if a car were to hit it. There's one in front of it, I just need to determine how many you guys want me to put in front of it. That's all I need to do, whether we do that, or Kaz recommended, what Paynes did was they dug down 4 feet below the frost line, put a saddle to a van, pour concrete, and that's a lot more expensive to do as opposed to, I don't know how much these barriers are. I have to look into that, but I mean, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. You know, we're trying to pretty up the place, so it's, I think a planner would be a better idea. A little more cost effective, I think, but again, I don't know.
Yeah, he mentioned in the plans, he was looking for the railings, the awnings, the information on the vehicle impact protection.
Right.
In addition to the insurance certificates. So that's still an open item, and I don't feel comfortable approving that without having those items closed overall.
I did the sketch of everything that we were doing, the dimensions, everything was on there.
Because he says he has not received it. He didn't get the proper plans.
He had the same exact, I went to the variance meeting first,
Right.
folks, and that was all there, and he's on the board.
Right.
And we went over all that. And they kindly told me, well, you gotta get approved by the common council, which is why I'm back here.
Right.
So he has all of this. I don't understand why he says he doesn't have all of this. But he clearly sits in that chair, and that's when we discussed it, and we went over it at that meeting.
It was just today that he recommended that we table this until.
He said you were gonna say that, yes, he said he wanted you to table it.
Yeah. He's requesting that he wants more information before we give the formal approval.
Yeah, I don't think he was asking us to not do this, but.
I think too, just from my understanding of how he likes to run the building department, you might have needed a permit for the removal of your toilet, even if you're just putting it back in the same spot.
That's crazy, you do not need a permit to remove a toilet.
You'll have to confirm it with
I'm
him,
not
but
putting in a whole new toilet in.
I know,
There was a toilet there.
I understand.
I took a crappy toilet,
Right,
didn't work.
one for one.
Picked it up.
I know,
Took it out.
story of my life.
Now I wanna put a new toilet where that old toilet was.
Mhm.
I need a permit for that.
You'd
I
have to
don't.
confirm with them.
I don't need a permit for that. I can assure you, I do not need a permit to take that old toilet out, put a new toilet in.
Yeah.
No, I just think he wanted, with the railings and things like that, he wanted that to kind of follow the procedure that Paynes went through and Canal Club, and if you say you did that.
I had him come to the building today, that's what we discussed.
Yeah.
I was a little heated at first, but we got through it.
Yeah,
Did he give you a stop work order also?
He did yesterday, and that's why I went down there this morning, and I said, what's going on? He wasn't there, he was in a meeting. So I made him, he came and met me there between 2 and 3 today, and that's what we discussed. I said, Kaz, I came to you and told you what I was doing before I was doing anything. He asked me what I was doing. I said, we're removed the ceiling, we're gonna have the open ceilings inside the bar, it's beautiful. We're not moving walls, we're not doing anything other than cosmetically fixing the place to make it look nice. You went in the bathrooms, they were black walls.
he said that he, sent this email to the council this morning at 11:41. And if I could just read it to you, just to make sure we're all on the same page. I suggest that the request be tabled until such time as we get proper plans for railings, awning, and information on vehicle impact protection, in addition to insurance certificates to protect the city from liability. Also, the owner of the property has already commenced interior remodeling without proper permits. Even after he was advised of the requirements, a stop work order was placed on the front door yesterday. I'm hoping to meet with the owner this afternoon. We should not proceed until all this information has been received and approved. The applicant should follow the same procedure as Paynes and Canal Club.
So I did all this. Before I did anything, I went down to the building department, and John was there, the secretary was there, and I spoke to Kaz directly. All 3 of them were there.
Sure.
I said, what do I need a permit for? I said exactly what I was doing. Do I need a permit? What do I need a permit? I'm putting skylights in. Do I need a permit for that? Yes. Do I need a permit for the electrical? I knew that. Yes, I got the permit for the electrical. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm not real happy. We're seeking $60,000 to $80,000 into this to make this, try and jumpstart Oliver Street for crying out loud.
I know.
And all I'm getting,
I'm ready to be
I'm ready to say,
done.
you know what, screw it.
Run it out, we're done. We're
Well,
not
just
even
don't
gonna
even
put
do it
in.
at all. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't know why I'm getting such a hard time. I don't need a permit for tile. I don't need a permit to replace a toilet, okay? There's nothing in there that I needed, other than the electric, that I needed a permit for. He told me that when I went to the office and asked him that.
Yeah, I just wanted.
Did he
I
give you
didn't do anything. He was
documentation?
in there. I didn't do anything other than the
Yeah.
demo work. When I went there, I said, I'm removing the ceiling. We're gonna tile the bathrooms, we're gonna tile the kitchen, they're block walls, make it look pretty. I didn't remove any walls. I didn't remove anything. It's all cosmetic.
So initially, he was okay with the work you described?
Yes.
Do you have that in writing?
Well, no, but I have two witnesses that heard him say that. I'll be happy to bring those on.
I understand.
They were all standing right there.
It's
I
not,
understand.
it's not.
I gotta get, well, so when I have a conversation with him, I have to get it in writing that he said that? That's ridiculous.
Oh, sounds like it.
No, but like I said, I'm just relaying to you what his recommendations were, so that we're all on the same page.
Okay, and I've got the thing from the state that John gave me for the barriers. If you'd like to read it, I have no idea what it says. Neither does he. Neither does Kaz. Just gotta have barriers. Doesn't give you how much, how big, nothing. It's right out of the state code book.
Yeah.
I said, so tell me, what do you want me to do? Well, I don't know.
But somehow they're okay with the panes, railings, and the.
And Canal Club, absolutely.
Canal Club,
Who doesn't
so-
have enough barriers? Oh, by the way, I mean, I love Kayla. She grew up with my son, and she's a sweet girl, but there's not enough barriers in front of that place.
The only thing I can think of is if we were to grant this, is if we had the caveat that, I don't know, Bob or Austin or Donna, with, that we just make sure the last part
Well,
of the
the
railing.
thing is that the Browns are applying approval to apply for a variance to have food and drink. So they're asking for our approval for that, so they can go back to the variance board and follow the proper
And
procedures
just so
with
you
the
know,
building department.
what you guys say supersedes what they say.
Right, but we are giving an approval for you to get a variance, cause then you have to go back to the variance board and say,
But
hey,
if you
the
say,
council
but
for
if you approve what I wanna do, which you have the plans for, I don't have to do that, that was quote unquote from him. He says, well, I don't need you to come back, if they're gonna approve it, I don't, that's true. That's according to him, unless he doesn't know, I
according
don't
to
know.
Kaz,
According to Kaz. I said, well, like, yeah, because I'm going there tonight, he goes, well, there's no point for you to come back, if they approve
not
it,
according to.
they supersede what you guys supersede the variance for. It's your call.
We will approve, I think
I
we should
think we should
approve
approve
this.
that they can apply
and
for a
they-
variance.
In accordance with, and it's,
In
as
accordance
long as
with,
it's
and
all
then
in accordance
that's
with, then we're
We've
good with
approved your
it.
variance
Yeah.
to go and apply for that variance, and then you have to go through you had to go back to the zoning board, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes,
But
and
he
then
said
you just
you're-
have to follow the procedures of
Right.
the building.
I
department.
understand that, but he
Yeah.
said there was no point in you coming, this is what he told me today.
Yeah, we don't grant variances, that's all.
No, but you're approving what I wanna do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no point, because your decision supersedes.
They're approving
His
you
decision.
being able to use the
Sidewalk.
right of way.
It
That's all they're
doesn't-
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he
you guys
can
actually
still
have
have
to
a
approve
stop
that.
work order.
And-
He can do what he
And the
needs to
zoning
do.
board could recommend the space, the type of, what other variances you need.
Well,
If
there's-
it's only a variance, I don't remember.
Okay, there's a stop work order to stop what work?
I
I don't
don't-
need a permit to put tile on the walls.
Yeah,
So you
I don't
worked that
trust
out,
his email.
you worked that out with Mr.
Yes,
Capozzi
I
today?
did, I did.
So-
I'm gonna meet
So
him,
he
I'm
was,
gonna meet him
he
Thursday
was
morning.
he was under the assumption that you were doing more than taking
Yes,
tile out.
even though I went to him before I did anything and asked him what I needed a permit for.
Gotcha.
Okay, the electrical, the skylights, I said, I'm not moving walls, I'm not doing anything else. I need a permit to put tile on the floor, I need a permit to put the walls up. Or
So,
not walls
yeah.
up, but tile on the walls.
Yeah, so we'll grant approval to use the sidewalk, the right of way, and the rest of it, is not free and clear, you just have to follow whatever it is with the railings and.
Yeah, with railings and the
those.
awning.
Right, which we talked about, he said he's
Right.
36 or 42 inch. I prefer
That
taller
part,
ones.
yeah, that part you
So
just.
we are
went over.
approving you
Okay.
to apply for that variance, to use the sidewalk, is basically what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, then you have to work with the building department, make sure your plans are all in order.
I'm this close to saying, you know what I'm gonna say, just because this is ridiculous. I'm only trying to make things better. We're sinking a ton of our own money in this.
Yeah, you said that, and we appreciate that.
That was gonna be my kitchen, by the way. So
Uh-huh.
I'm this
You
close.
forfeited the kitchen.
I'm this close.
Anybody, you're fine, we're all set with that.
We're all set?
Yep.
Yes.
Anybody
Do I need
else
to
wish?
stay or no?
It's up to you, we're gonna vote on
Yours
it
is
if you
the
wanna
last
stay.
one on the
I know,
Um,
but I mean, do I need to be here for the vote?
You don't have to be if you don't wanna be. Anybody,
Thank
yep, you're welcome. Anybody else wishing to speak on anything, else on tonight's agenda and tonight's agenda only? Seeing that there's none, we'll move on here.
We have approval of the minutes of the regular session, September 18th,
So moved.
2018. Moved by Alderman Zazoka,
Second.
second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Proof of publication published 9/20/2018, legal notice, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, notice of intent to modify Superintendent of Wastewater Water. Proof of publication published 9/21/2018, a legal notice, request for proposal for the Gateway Park Improvements Project, number 2018-01, city engineer. Do I have a motion?
Motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro, second by Alderman Braun.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Communications from city officials, clerk treasurer regarding removal of 574 Old Falls Boulevard from the appropriate in-rem foreclosure proceedings.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Alderman
I'll
Zazoka,
second.
second by Alderwoman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposed to this? All right, motion carries.
From the city clerk treasurer regarding approval for Chant to set up a table in City Hall on November 16th, 2018 for the Great American Smokeout.
I'll make the motion that we accept that request.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
Second.
seconded by Alderwoman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From the engineer regarding approval of C&S companies to perform the design services and assistance to complete the North Tonawanda pedestrian signal project.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Alderman Pecoraro, seconded by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the engineer regarding award of contract for the project 2018-02 Sweeney Canal Dock Extension Project.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderwoman Braun, seconded by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the engineer regarding permission to remove 2 yield signs on Division Street and replace them with stop signs.
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll read from the Superintendent of Wastewater Water, permission to attend the confined space train the trainer program in Syracuse. I do have a letter from him submitted on October 1st, where I would, read it. I would like to request that my 10/2/18 Common Council meeting agenda item, permission to attend the confined space train the trainer program in Syracuse, be withdrawn. Thank you.
Do you know why he didn't want to?
I think there's conflict with the time.
Sounded like he wanted to go, but.
So he has removed this item.
All right.
And from the city accountant regarding payment of the abstract of claims dated October 2nd, 2018.
I'll make a motion that we pay the abstracts.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka, second by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro.
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
I have from the accountant regarding award of bid for a consulting service for the city's post-retirement health care plan.
Amanda, can you come up and speak on this, please, the next 2 items?
My next two items are for an actuarial evaluation for all of our, post-retirement benefits. I really shouldn't say healthcare plan, it's not a healthcare plan. In accordance with the Government Accounting Standards Board, we need to have an actuarial evaluation performed every 2 years for our financial statements. And then the next one is the work bid for our independent audit contract, which is up for 12/31/17, so that'll renew the end of this year.
So, we had more of a discussion on the item, the audit item, and I think there's some council people who have questions about the price difference. Notice that 4 of the 5 were around the same price, and the one that we have used for 20 years is significantly
39.
cheaper. 39 years we've used the same audit firm.
That's what it is, a get what you pay for kind of issue that we've been having in my office. We've had a significant number of performance issues on that contract, and like we said, after in the private sector, every 5 years you need to have a new auditor. We've had the same one, I want to say it's 39 years. So,
So in the private sector, I believe you had mentioned, a lot of times they're required to get a new auditor, or at least send it out for RFP
correct.
every 5 years.
Right. So, the decision really is that, this is our oversight board, and it's based on what's in the best interest of the city. And when you're underperforming on a contract, I could get into some of those things. I'm not sure if it's.
Do we get in trouble or fined or anything if they miss something?
We could. So if they issue an audit on our federal programs and, for example, never actually test that program, we could owe recoupments to the federal government. I've worked for, or I've had several other clients prior to coming here where I've seen $3 million worth of recoupments on their books just because they didn't have thorough audit of their federal programs. So that's just one small example.
Is it gonna make your job easier to go with your recommendation?
It's not necessarily a matter of ease. I mean, there have been issues with the reporting and sending drafts back time and time again.
With the Motto Fox?
Right. So the most professional thing is I've actually spent 2 weeks before, and the most, I want to say 1 year I reviewed and had errors 10 times in drafts, just over and over again, and there's a lot of turnover with the staff, and I've had a lot of difficulties, and I don't want to get too into standing up here and bashing a firm,
Right.
but
it sounds like their RFP or whatever they've submitted is kind of incomplete.
It's very incomplete. If you look at the back schedules of their RFP, the numbers don't even tie out, so.
They don't even have our address correct.
Correct. My address, my title, the years on it. This is kind of an example. I looked at the RFP and I said, this is exactly what I deal with during the audit, is just, like consistently incorrect information. And I really shouldn't be telling our auditors how to correct things. And if you even look at the cost schedule in the back, the totals add up to like $10,000, and you look at the sum and it's $15,000. And when I review our financials, it really doesn't look any different when they consider that a professional product. So I can get into some of the other issues as far as
Who came up with the rating system on the right-hand side there?
I did. That's standard. I made some modifications to David Jakobazik always did the ratings when he was here, and then Mark delegated that to me when he was here, but he did work on that. So that's the same rating system with some, I've sat on a lot of committees, so I used, some new input for those.
And at one point in your career, you did work for an auditing firm?
Correct. I actually did the same thing. Actually, one of the firms on there is one of my firms that I work for.
Is it the one you?
No, Drescher and Lucky.
We are going with one.
No. Although I do have, I think they're great, but I
made the right decision.
Right.
And as far as, so we would disregard the lowest responsible bid and spend $45,000 more in a limited budget year to go with Bonadeo is what you're
It's
suggesting?
$45,000 over 3 years, and I do understand your concerns with the budget, but, I'll give you some examples. My first year here, we're self-insured for workers' compensation, which is currently on our books a $4.3 million liability. When I first started here and I reviewed our financials, we made it through with a clean audit and a clean opinion that we didn't even have a workers' comp liability on our books. So if you're a professional firm and you're an auditor, you should be able to look at the financials and say, hey, we're missing a $4.3 million liability. So instead of restating our financials, they push those things through as current year activity. In my 6 years here, I've been working on several restatements. I'll just kind of go through this list, I guess, with you. Our compensated absences liability was understated by $500,000. Our long-term retirement liability was understated by $175,000. We had no long-term retirement incentive liability on our books. We had accounts payable recorded as both AP and encumbrances with no differentiation between the two. They have never reported on any of our internal controls, which I would think that for you guys that would be a concern because, you know, they come in here and you're not really hearing the real truth about the internal controls. We have one fund. It hasn't been balanced since 1975. Has shortfall cash in that. I'm not sure if you want me to go on too much in this, but I can continue. When I first started, our capital accounts didn't reconcile the cash by $2.2 million, and we got a clean opinion on that. We had 1 year where their testing didn't pick up an error in our revenues by $462,000. We had a clean opinion on our asset listing. I did, in 2013, $15.8 million in adjustments to our financials, which they gave us a clean opinion on. Every year since I've been here, we've gotten a clean opinion on our federal program before they even went out and did any testing. This is my second year in a row where they didn't even complete our DOT audit or our deferred compensation audit during the time of the audit, and I had to track them down to the last minute on those things. And with the deferred compensation audit, I gave them the numbers and they just compiled a report and never came out and did any testing with that.
So you've done your research, basically, you've built your
Correct, and
case
I've lived it.
for your
so.
professional opinion.
But that's just my opinion, and these are the facts, and
You're reading the facts.
correct. Any other questions?
Bob?
Nope, no questions.
Thanks, Amanda.
Okay, we'll go back to that item from the city accountant regarding award of bid for a consulting service for the city's post-retirement healthcare plan.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second it.
seconded by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call, please, on that?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zilka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the accountant regarding award of bid for the independent certified public accountants to provide services related to the audit for the city of North Tonawanda.
I'll make the motion.
I'd like to,
Do I have a second?
What's the motion for?
yeah,
To approve this?
To approve what?
To approve this firm.
it doesn't say that. It says a list of firms.
And your recommendation
Her
is
recommendation
Bonadeo
is
Group.
the $87,750.
Her recommendation is the award of bid for independent certified public accounts providing services related to the audit for the city of North Tonawanda, and she is recommending the Bonadeo Group. So this motion is to accept her recommendation.
To begin the audit process.
Do I hear a second? I do not hear a second. Do I hear a motion to accept the Amato Fox for the lowest responsible bid?
Responsible.
Do I hear a motion for that?
I'm gonna make the motion that we accept the Motto Fox, for a 1-year period, because they are lowest bid, and people, you don't understand the, financial requirements that we have to make day in and day out. And this is the most financially, consistent one that we can make for the city, so that's why I'm making that recommendation.
And maybe we can, add to that, then in a year, we can revisit this instead of 3 years?
Absolutely.
So I guess the motion on the floor is to award the bid to Amato Fox with the,
Only 1 year.
with the stipulation of 1 year, and looking to see how they perform and revisit this at the end of the year versus the 3-year term. Do I have a second on that? Go ahead, go ahead, say something.
On this particular thing, if the council has decided to go with Amato Fox for the 1-year period, then I would suggest that we set up a committee with the accountant and perhaps a couple council members or whatever to discuss everything that Amanda brought out tonight, so that we can really get to the bottom of all these things that she mentioned, so that next year at this time, we may decide to move to a different firm. But I think it's important that we take what she says under consideration. I think we should discuss it thoroughly.
But that's not consideration for going against her recommendation.
No,
And
it's
why are we creating more work for everyone when her professional opinion has selected a firm?
We didn't have a second in either one of our motions yet. It's not up for question.
So we're neck and neck, Bob.
I'm just saying that if the council decides to go that way, I would recommend
I agree with the
a
mayor.
committee to really study this.
And,
For
I-
both firms, or just Amato Fox?
Well, I think a different set of eyes is warranted here, but I still think that, for this next year period,
Budget-wise.
Well, I think
budget-wise.
a good
Just
compromise.
budget-wise, it's,
Right.
it's $45,000, and from my understanding, we are,
But if we're talking about a year, that's
We're
not
only talking-
$45,000, the difference between the two, right? So if we're gonna maybe take a chance and do this extra committee and so on, I think a good compromise would be try Bonadil Group for 1 year, see how they work out, and you can compare the two. And then, after that, then we decide for an extended contract.
But 30 is already in the 2018 budget.
And it's already budgeted to put towards any of these firms, right? Is that, so really, it's already budgeted. Has that budget changed from previous years, or, so it's this normal amount that we always have? So again, our city accountant is recommending a firm. I would advise to go with her recommendation.
Do we have a second to go with the recommendation? We do not. Do we have a second on Bob's motion? Bob's motion was to go
Take
with
Amato Fox.
Amato Fox and to accept it for a year and revisit that, the mayor said, and do a study on their performance after 1 year. Do I have a second to that?
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept Amato Fox. Let's have a roll call, please.
Alderman Tyler,
Nay.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye. Motion carries.
From the police chief, regarding approval to reappoint Larry W. Keebler as a Commissioner of Deeds for the city of North Tonawanda.
Make the motion?
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Tyler, seconded by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From the Parks and Recreation, regarding approval of the 2018 state aid appropriations for youth programs.
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Moved by Alderman Zazoka, seconded by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I have from the Traffic Safety Committee, approval of various traffic safety recommendations from their August and September meetings.
I'll make the motion that we accept the traffic safety recommendations.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second it.
second by Alderman Zazoka.
On the question, so number 7 is the only item, the action item, right?
7 on the September one.
Okay,
yes.
and that was what an email was sent out.
I'll read that so everyone can hear it. Member Daly would like to take down the no parking signs on Evans Street due to the Lowry Middle School no longer being open, requesting permission from the council. That's the only one that requires action.
So we have a motion and we have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I appreciate all the work that the traffic safety has done the last 2 months.
Yes, thank you.
I've had from communications from others, Carnegie Arts Center, approval of the 2018 exhibition schedule and permission to apply for a 1-day liquor license for the events.
I'd like to make the motion with the addition that the one extra date that Barb emailed us today, that we accept that date also as part of the Carnegie events.
Which is November.
November 2nd, it was a chamber event.
Did she email all of us?
Yes.
I didn't
No,
know.
I believe she just emailed you and myself.
Okay, I'm
I've
sorry.
noticed that.
I didn't get the,
She wanted-
I didn't see the email.
She wanted,
Yeah.
she wanted one additional
She
date
wanted,
that just
yeah,
came in.
the Chamber of Commerce.
There still is
Okay.
another meeting in October that can be approved then, if you want.
No, it's,
No, it's
yeah.
fine.
Should be fine,
The one additional day?
yes.
What day was that, Donna?
November 1st, I believe.
First or second? Not sure which.
November 1st,
November
Thursday.
1st?
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll make the second.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro, second by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I have from Stephen M. Brown regarding approval to apply for a variance to have food and drink service outside the establishment located at 775 Oliver Street.
So are we approving the use of how much space in front of this building?
He is requesting that
30 by 20?
10 by 30.
And that's the only amount of space. What about planters? Like if he's putting planters? Does that matter?
10 by 38 we're approving.
Okay,
No, the planners would be,
that doesn't matter, that
I don't think,
the planning board could approve that or
zoning, yeah.
zoning?
So do I have a motion to approve the variance for the
We're approving for them
outside?
to apply for a variance.
Yes, to apply for the variance. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion that we allow them to apply for the variance.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro, second by Alderman
We
Zazoka.
have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call on this, shall we?
Aldermans Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro.
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carried. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on any city business for the good of the city, please step forward and state your name and address.
Edward A. Smolinski, 1097 Smith Street again. I didn't realize there's more to, I read the agenda, it said taking down 2 yield signs, put it up 2 stop signs. I didn't realize there's more to it, which brings me to a point, I wish when stuff like this is brought forward, I guess you're blocking lanes, this, that, whatever else. I wish the government be more transparent, put it on the websites, cell phones, whatever, let people know what's going on. Not just put on the agenda that you're taking them down 2 yield signs, put up 2 stop signs, would have saved me a couple bucks in copy machine. And I applaud Dale for your efforts, you know, we don't always agree, but at least something to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Tom Dallas, 174 Belmont Court East. I'd like to speak on a couple matters that may not be too popular. You mentioned about removing no parking signs on Evans Street, and I think we have too much parking on the streets in North Tonawanda. My son and his wife were recently visiting from Virginia, and she mentioned to me how she's driving along, and then all of a sudden there's no lane there because there's all these cars parked. We have too many streets that have become one-way streets in North Tonawanda. Part of the problem is because the trucks and the cars and the vans are so big. The other part of the problem is because people want to leave them on the street. They don't want to use their driveways. Street cleaner came by one time this summer, when I was home anyhow, and they came by during the day. Now, I can understand why they're coming by during the day, because people are parking on the street overnight. No, people are parking on the street during the day too. Those same cars that were there overnight are there during the daytime. And the street cleaner weaved in and out and left a pile of garbage in front of my house, because I got kind of an S curve or whatever there. And so there it was, right? So I don't know if there is any solution other than people using their driveways. Maybe no overnight parking altogether. I mean, we go through it during the winter, people seem to get by with it. I mean, I think it could be used during the summer. It'd be easier still for them to move their cars off and on the street. Another thing concerning the budget, I always seem to miss the budget hearings, all right? So I'd like to bring up a couple of things. Maybe possibly putting some fees on the boats and canoes, the launchings and parking and everything. A lot of maintenance has been done to the park, and it looks nice. I applaud that, and it does look nice. But I know that costs and everything too. So maybe there could be some permits for parking and launching boats and what have you. I remember playing softball in the city for many years. You had to have an ID card. We paid fees and everything, and that's fine. All right? I think everybody should pay their fair share. Getting back to the parking for a minute, there was a minivan that flipped over on my street, and I remember the date, June 6th, because I was coming home and I was supposed to go to a meeting, but I was late for that meeting, so I came directly home, and it's a good thing because I wouldn't have been able to get access to my driveway because there was an accident on the street. A minivan completely turned over. As a matter of fact, when I was in my garage, sitting in my car, I do officiating, I was writing down the mileage that I used, and I heard a thump. I said, wow, what's that? Something fell. I went in the house, and my wife said, what's going on out there? I said, what do you mean, what's going on out there? I look out the window, and there's a minivan flipped over. Now, I don't know if those trucks parked on the street had anything to do with it or whatever, but I know it took some time to clear up the whole mess, and I'm sure all the cars parked on the street did not help. And again, the response time, I'm sorry, did not seem like it was very good. Getting back to what I want to talk about, the budget here, again, boats and canoes, permit, some kind of fee for launching or parking. There's a bathroom facility there. It's only a Johnny on the spot, but it's a facility there. Which again, if you look by Canal Fest, I don't really go down to attend those things down at Gateway and everything, but a lot of people seem to do, and they seem to like it. And instead of seeing all those Johnny on the spots or porta potties, whatever you want to call them, it would be nice to have a bathroom facility there. I think something in Mr. Marshall's proposal, I glanced through that, I don't know what kind of detail, but a nice, Tonawanda was laughed at and got a lot of flack about that bathroom facility. But that's what's needed down there.
That's what's coming.
Yeah, it actually is a.
That's good, that's
what's
good,
coming.
all right? I mean, as far as being a man, it doesn't matter too much, but I feel for the women, you know. Also, we have a lot of lawn services. I don't see why there's any reason, not any reason why they shouldn't have to have some kind of permit, just like the snowplow removal people do. I think you can go along the same process. They can go through the same process. Another thing which is probably unpopular, I know I heard a lady talking about her dog when I came in here, but maybe the council should revisit what fees you're charging for licensing. Maybe those fees should be raised, all right? A dog census probably should be taken. I would dare say that many people do not have licenses for their dogs. Now, I was bit by a dog walking a couple years ago and everything, and the only thing I heard is, oh, the dog doesn't do that. The dog's friendly and everything like that. My dog doesn't bark, my dog doesn't do this. And I'm sure everybody thinks that their dog is the greatest dog in the world, and they probably are, all right? However, if I have to listen to the dog's bark, and if I have to maybe be cautious when I'm walking because dogs are running loose and everything. Maybe they could at least be contributing to the city budget. I think that's about it. Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Tom.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Phillips.
You're running for office now, right, Tom?
Not at all.
Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business for the good of the city, please step forward. State your name and address. Seeing that there's none, we'll move on to closing comments. Let's start with Alderman Austin Tyler.
So I am disappointed by the decision that, 2 votes led to. I think, we talk about the physical safety in regards to the Division Street and Twin City, and I think we also need to consider the financial safety of the city. And if someone like Amanda, who's a city accountant, who was, trusted to do her due diligence, is, denied her recommendation, I just frown upon it. So, Amanda, thank you for being diligent. I know you worked really hard to vet these out, and there was a lot of them too, and we spoke on all of them. So, thank you for putting in the effort for them, at least. Dale, just Ed said it as well, but you have more spirit in everything you do in the city, I think, than most employees here. So I do appreciate that. And, like we had talked about earlier, maybe that, they change a little bit, but this is a good step forward, at least to something, right? Division's kind of a mess and we don't have $20 million yet, right? So,
It's on the radar.
yeah, and I've seen your plans and it's pretty incredible for your vision. So you're a big thinker, which I do appreciate too. So thank you. Yeah. And thank you everyone for sticking it out also today. I know it gets a little hot in here, especially when you're wearing a suit and up here. So thank you.
All right. Alderman Bob Pecoraro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dale, thank you for letting me be on the PSAP, the Pedestrian Safety Committee, and the dock extensions. I have time in my schedule to put forward to that use and to see the process, and I really enjoy being on the committees that you're on and your guidance overall. Yes, thank you. And I'll tell you, pennies, nickels, and dimes matter. And every penny, nickel, and dime that this city has to pay for, I am going to scrutinize and scrutinize well, and my decisions are based on the best decision at the best cost for whatever we do. So that's what my mantra is moving forward, and it's always been that way, as long as we don't take away from a person's quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Alderwoman Donna Braun, and you do not last this time, by the way.
Thank you. I also appreciate Dale's efforts on the Division Street, and it's gonna be cost effective right now, and it can always be changed if it's not working out. Mark, thank you for that also. I don't have a whole lot to say, other than there, one upcoming event that is coming up in 2 weeks is the Haunted Harbor. And it's a huge, great event that the Parks and Rec Department, has filmed in the past, and we're gonna have the parade again, and it's gonna be a great family event downtown. And as I have said this probably at every council meeting about our Department of Public Works, and they're both here tonight, and I've had nothing but great comments on how much roads we have done, and I'll be very interested to see how many miles we did this year. And I got more phone calls and emails about the compliments and not the complaints this year. So I commend you both for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. What about you, City Clerk Treasurer Dan Quinn?
There is another event on the same day as the Haunted Harbor, and I was just pulling up on my calendar. It has to do with the city's master plan. Yes, it's gonna be located at, there's gonna be a table set up at the farmer's market from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So for anyone who wants to go on and take a look at what information she might have, or
And
provide
it's-
any other input.
Just to elaborate, it's a continuation of these committees, these outreach committees for residents to interact with the landscape architect that we're working with about downtown revitalization and how the market maybe is incorporated. It's big on walkability, pedestrian-friendly, green-friendly initiatives. So I would recommend attending that. And again, Dan, it's 10 to noon
10 to 12,
at,
the farmer's market,
and what day?
the 13th,
13th.
October 13th.
Right, Saturday.
There also is a flu clinic at City Hall this Friday, from 10 to 12 also. Potentially, if your insurance covers it, it'll be free. If not, then you gotta pay whatever your copay is.
Thank you, Dan.
That's it.
Let's go with you, Mayor, before I get to my closing comments.
I'll be very brief due to the time. Just want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you to everyone that presented their thoughts and ideas tonight. Mr. Gals, thank you. Your comments are very well taken and some good ideas there that I think we really should look at. And thanks to all of you that have given ideas and have worked on behalf of the city. And obviously, whether the council or whoever, whether it's me, the council, the citizens, the department heads, whether we agree or disagree immediately, the whole idea is, do we come together and work out our individual differences and come to some kind of compromise in the best interest of the city. So obviously, just by the thoughts that were presented tonight, we have people interested, we have people working, people thinking, so that can only provide success as we go down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I thought you were gonna, the recycle or DPW.
And
Forgot about that.
as far as my closing comments, you know, we appreciate each and every one of the department heads that get up here and speak. Mark Zellner, Dale Marshall, and Amanda, just as much as you yourself. And, you know, you and I had talked a while back, we discussed a different set of eyes looking at our books, and I agree with you on that. And there's gonna be times where, like the mayor said, and Bob said, we're gonna disagree with some of the recommendations. If everything was a rubber stamp, you wouldn't need us here, you would just go with what the department heads say. But we have to be very careful on a very tedious budget, and we have to make the best decisions possible. And it's not meant to put off any of the department heads in any way, shape, or form. It's meant to try to, you know, take their recommendations and deliberate as a group of five. A lot of people forget there's 5 councilmen and a mayor here, so we do have differing opinions. We can't just take one department head's opinions. And, you know, the more information that this department head and these department heads give us on what their selections are and why they want to do that is going to make it a lot easier for me to make a decision than for my counterparts to make a decision. And, you know, no, money is not the only reason why we look at what we're doing and why we select this, but you know, we do look at you as experts, we do look at you as advisors, and we do take it all into consideration. The fact that we don't agree at all times, I don't think that needs to be a grandstanded or a pointed out thing. I don't think it needs to be picked on or frowned upon. I think it just needs to be noted. And I'll tell you, we work well with all the department heads. And I gotta say, you know, Dale knows his engineering. Dale knows where all the sewers and all the pipes. Mark knows a lot about the city. We do listen to your recommendations, and we do listen to our advisory boards. But we just don't listen to one or the other. We do listen to everything. And after that, as your representatives, we need to make a decision, and we want to make the best decision. So, you know, we appreciate everything that the residents have to say, the comments they have to say, the questions that they are bringing up. And, you know, we have the mindset of what is the greatest good for the city in the long run. So I just wanted to clarify that. And thank you for all that you do to our department heads. And we don't disrespect any one of you. You're all in the position for a reason because of the jobs that you do. With that, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
My grandson, family, Jimmy, had another boy. Joseph.